She was born in a small village in the heart of Bavaria at the end of the 18th century. She was a simple farmer's daughter, and from a young age, she said she saw things no one else could see. Her name was Elizabeth Trautmann, and her life seemed to be just another one among many women of faith from that time, like Blessed Alexandrina of Balazar. But what this young woman experienced during her last years would become one of the most amazing accounts of Jesus' suffering ever recorded outside of the Gospels, maybe even comparable to the revelations of Saint Teresa of Avila. Elizabeth wasn't a scholar, nor did she have any contact with formal theology, but she claimed with conviction that in her deepest moments of prayer, it was as if her soul was transported to the last days of Christ, as if she were really there, experiencing everything firsthand. Just like pilgrims who journey to Fatima, she felt a profound connection with God. And she didn't just see, she felt. She heard the shouts of the angry crowd as if she were in a busy marketplace on a festival day. She felt the chill of the early morning in Gethsemane, as if she were praying next to Jesus on a cold winter night. The metallic taste of blood and dust in her mouth, like the taste of a strong, dark red wine. The intense presence of evil like a heavy shadow hanging over the Son of God like a scary legend. Her stories were so powerful, so full of details, that someone who could barely read could never have made them up. So a close friend, a missionary who had found God, amazed by her faith, decided to write everything down. And it's from these writings that we'll now explore Jesus' suffering in a way you might never have thought of before. Elizabeth described Calvary as a battlefield between light and darkness, but before that she saw Christ's body being dragged through the alleys of Jerusalem. She said the cross was so heavy, it seemed like an extension of his body. The wood creaked, the soldiers spat, the stones cut his feet. But what caught her attention most was Jesus' gaze, a gaze that didn't ask for help but forgave silently. Upon reaching the mount, she witnessed the preparations as a cruel ritual. Two hooded men approached with chains. They weren't dressed as executioners. They looked more like merchants of suffering, and without a word, they laid Jesus down upon the wooden beam. The silence of the scene was broken only by the sharp crack of leather against skin and the Savior's muffled cry. But then, the moment Elizabeth feared most arrived, the nail. She used to say that the first blow didn't just pierce his hand, but the entire sky. The earth seemed to sigh, and Jesus, laid out, didn't struggle against it. He surrendered as one who knows that each hammer blow is carving salvation into the heart of humanity. The executioners used strips of cloth to hold his limbs and keep his body still. One of them murmured, "The tighter it is, the faster it's over." But it wasn't true. The pain seemed to last forever, to last. As Jesus' arms were stretched out, there was a cracking sound, a violent dislocation in his right shoulder. Elizabeth said the bones dislocated with a dry sound like a snap, and yet he didn't yell. He only whispered something, but nobody understood. Maybe a name, maybe forgiveness. Jesus' head tilted slightly to the side, and his face, despite the suffering, held a heartbreaking serenity. One of the executioners hesitated. He knelt for a brief moment before piercing the other arm. "Why is he looking at me like that?" he must have thought, trembling. As the hammer echoed in the silence of the hill, something began to change in the surrounding atmosphere. According to Isabel, the sky was losing its shine, as if each cloud moved away to respectfully observe what was about to happen. A cold wind began to blow, and even the birds, which used to fly over Calvary, seemed to have disappeared. Scene 9. The sky loses its shine. As the hammer echoed in the silence of the hill, something began to change in the surrounding atmosphere. According to Isabel, the sky was losing its shine, as if each cloud drew back to respectfully observe what was about to happen. A cold wind began to blow, and even the birds, which usually flew over Calvary, seemed to have disappeared. But the hardest scene for her to describe was Jesus' feet being nailed. There wasn't an easy way to see it. His body was already tense, his nerves frayed. She saw the soldiers violently pulling his ankles, trying to make them fit on the small support of the cross. But the holes were in the wrong places, on purpose maybe, stretching his body even more. Scene 10. The feet nailed. But the hardest scene for her to describe was Jesus' feet being nailed. There wasn't an easy way to see it. His body was already tense, his nerves frayed. She saw the soldiers violently pulling his ankles, trying to make them fit on the small support of the cross. But the holes were in the wrong places, on purpose maybe, stretching his body even more. With each adjustment, Jesus' groan became deeper, more muffled. But there was never anger. There was never resistance. It was as if he accepted everything, knowing it had to be done. Then came the last nail, a thick, roughly made iron spike that pierced both feet at the same time. Elizabeth used to say that the sound of the wood splitting and Jesus' muffled cry created a symphony of pain and love that no one would ever forget after hearing it. And when the cross was raised, everything stopped. She describes that at that moment, time seemed to stand still. The soldiers stepped back. The women covered their faces. Mary, his mother, simply fell to her knees without tears, just staring, motionless. The timber was brutally dropped into the hole in the ground, and a dull thud echoed across the mount. At that moment, Elizabeth used to say that hell screamed. An invisible sound felt only in the soul, as if the darkness sensed that something had changed forever. And maybe you're there watching this video with a heavy heart, trying to imagine this suffering. And I tell you, if this touched you in any way, it's because there's something inside you that recognizes the truth of this love. So if this content resonated with you, I want to ask you something special. Subscribe to the channel right now, but don't do it like someone just pushing a button. Do it like someone who decides to approach the cross, like someone saying, I also want to be at his feet. And comment below, sincerely, which part of this story touched you the most? Was it the silence of the sky, the look of forgiveness, the physical pain, or the presence of the mother, steadfast, not running away? Share with us, but share truthfully as if it were a prayer. Now, back to the scene. Isabel could see that even hanging there, Christ's body seemed to be sustained by something invisible. His hands were bleeding so much that the veins trembled. The blood trickled down his arm, flowed along his body, and dripped onto the dry earth below. But when she looked at Jesus' face, she didn't see despair. She saw peace. And it was precisely then that she began to realize something even deeper. The cross wasn't just an instrument of torture. It was, well, an altar, a place of surrender. That blood fell like a seed on the earth, as if something was being sown at that very moment, something eternal. In the distance, the sound of temple trumpets echoed from Jerusalem like a whisper of history in the wind. It was the signal for the Passover sacrifice, an ancient ritual full of meaning. But there, before that cross, Elizabeth felt the truth in her heart. The true Passover lamb was being sacrificed. And in her soul, no ritual, not even the procession of Our Lady of Sorrows, nor the Holy Week ceremonies in Braga compared to that moment. Scene 16. The Passover sacrifice. In the distance, the sound of temple trumpets echoed from Jerusalem, like a whisper of history in the wind. It was the signal for the Passover sacrifice, an ancient ritual full of meaning. But there, before that cross, Elizabeth felt the truth in her heart. The true Passover lamb was being sacrificed, and in her soul no ritual, not even the procession of Our Lady of Sorrows or the Holy Week ceremonies in Braga compared to that moment. When the trumpets fell silent, the world seemed to hold its breath. Time stopped, the wind ceased, and even the cries were silenced for a few seconds. It was then that, according to Elizabeth, something extraordinary happened. She saw a light emerging from Christ's very body. It wasn't an ordinary light, the kind that blinds you. It was a warm light, as if heaven itself was breathing through him. And this light didn't spread like fire, but like love, slow, deep, reaching even the most hidden corners of the earth. Jesus looked up. His eyes were clouded with blood, sweat, and pain. But even so, there was a glimmer there, the glimmer of someone who knows they have won. And then he spoke, not with a weak voice, but with the authority of a king. "It is finished." These words weren't heard only by those who were there. Isabel said they echoed in her soul, as if they crossed the barriers between what we can see and what we can't see, between right now and forever. And then he finished. "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." The silence that followed was absolute, a deafening silence, a silence that spoke volumes, expressing what words could never capture, as if the very air held its breath, thick with raw, unspoken emotion. Jesus' body slumped heavily, as if the cross itself groaned beneath the weight of the world's sorrow. His head fell to the side, and he breathed his last, the final breath, the ultimate surrender. Mary, his mother, didn't scream, she didn't faint. She simply bowed. And as her face drew close to her son's face, a single tear fell upon his bloody chest. It was the quietest and most powerful tear ever cried by a person. The sky grew dark, the earth trembled, the rocks split, and at that very moment, according to Isabel, the veil of the temple was torn from top to bottom. A crack opened in the heart of the world, and through that crack, the light of salvation entered. Scene 23, the veil torn. The sky grew dark, the earth trembled, the rocks split. And at that very moment, according to Isabel, the veil of the temple was torn from top to bottom. A crack opened in the heart of the world, and through that crack, the light of salvation entered. But, you see, there's something even deeper. Elizabeth used to say that at the moment of Jesus' death, she could see what human eyes couldn't. A spiritual realm opened up, and on one side of the cross, angels descended, not to rescue him, but to guard his sacred body. And on the other side, there they were. Spirits of darkness, furious, lost, defeated. They screamed in despair because they knew the death that should have been the end was now the beginning. In that instant, Calvary became the center of the universe. Heaven and hell, life and death, light and darkness, everything met there, hanging between two thieves with arms outstretched and a heart open like an endless fountain. And now, here we are, 2,000 years later, listening to these words, feeling these images transcend time. Isn't it amazing how this story is still alive? So if you've made it this far, you're a part of this too. I want to give you a different kind of invitation. Subscribe to the channel, not just as another number, but as a soul walking with us. Here, the cross isn't the end, it's actually the starting point. Let us know in the comment, wow, what did you learn from this story today? Or share your story, your struggles, your beliefs. This community is here for this, to support each other. Scene 27, share your testimony. Tell us in the comments, what lesson did you learn from this story today? Or share your story, your struggles, your belief. This community is here for this, to support each other. If this message touched your heart, tell us in the comments which part resonated with you most. Let us know which part moved you. Was it Mary's silent surrender? Was it Mary's resignation? Jesus' last look? Jesus' final look? The blood that flowed like a river of grace? The blood poured out like a river of grace? Scene 28, a final reflection. If this message touched your heart, tell us in the comments which part resonated with you the most. Was it Mary's silent surrender? Jesus' last look? The blood that flowed like a river of grace? Be sincere, be profound. We are reading your comments, we are with you. Be sincere, be profound. We are reading your comments, we are with you. And as you finish watching this video, remember this. Nothing was wasted. Every tear you cried, every hard time you faced, every sigh, it was all for love.